Hi guys, my name's Finn.
Hi, I'm Katie.
I'm Millie.
I'm Oakley, and unfortunately our fifth member Libby wasn't able to make it today.
Hello everyone. So we have produced this video for great sports coaching and your community of coaches to suggest how we think you can enhance your coaching practices.
We're going to compare traditional methods of coaching to ones that are underpinned by the constraints-led approach, incorporating the motivational climate within this. We all hope you enjoy.
As I'm sure you're aware, coaching is evolving to become less top-down. However, there is still a lot of structure and control within coaching. There are many approaches that can be adopted within coaching. However, the trajectory must be kept in mind to satisfy the athlete's needs. Today, we are focusing on an athlete-centered, constraint-led approach. To begin with, what is the constraint-led approach? Simply, it involves manipulating constraints during practice to challenge learners to develop their own movement patterns. So now we have two key terms, constraints and movement patterns. Through the interaction of constraints, athletes can begin to generate effective movement patterns that will aid their self-organisation. This means they can become more independent with how they tackle practices and therefore learn to develop their own movement patterns more effectively. This is really important as it benefits the athlete's relationship between learning and performance, where making mistakes is no longer a problem during the process where an athlete is searching for a stable state through the fluctuation of order and control parameters.
Using the constraints-led approach, we suggest that you, as a coach, become a problem setter, where you design learning tasks through manipulating constraints to provide affordances for action. You are then able to implicitly invite desired perception-action couplings. For the athlete, their perception or what they see is coupled to the action or movement pattern they do next. So, essentially, in practice, the affordances are the opportunities, and the constraints are the barriers to the player. This then leads to the desired perception-action coupling without forcing the movement. Therefore, this presentation aims to enhance the quality and effectiveness of great sports coaching's community of coaches, specifically youth community level sport, through analysing the learning environment, using the constraints-led approach to coaching, and other factors that are involved within this process, such as the motivational climate. We have presented some constraints-led approaches to practice, which we compare to more traditional linear practices. We hope this presentation will guide and educate you as coaches on alternative ways to lead your coaching practice, which steers away from a linear and controlled system towards a non-linear pedagogical approach.
We're now going to present some traditional linear practices which we compare to the constraint-led approach.
This game-related drill represents goalkeeping reactions that is frequently used at low-level and high-level coaching. As you can see, the drill consists of a coach kicking the ball to a goalkeeper who then must catch the ball and throw it back. You can see from the drill, it's very simplistic and no constraints have been implemented. This therefore doesn't make the drill realistic to what it would be like in a game, which can lead to players getting used to or expecting easy catches or saves in competitive games, which is obviously not the case, as the movement of the ball will be uncertain in a real match.
We have now adapted this drill using a constraints-led approach. We have placed filled water bottles 5 yards out from the goal, which acts as a constraint and encourages the goalkeeper to develop their own movement patterns. The bottles represent deflections that occur in competitive games and therefore provide a more varied and more realistic sense to practice.
This shooting activity is key for a goalkeeper's holistic development to find appropriate movement solutions throughout the practice. This activity is an example of a constraints-led approach, as explained a moment ago.
Essentially, the constraints-led approach challenges learners to find their own movement patterns to reach an outcome. The essential question for you as a coach is, does the environment offer, invite and/or encourage learners to explore the opportunities for action related to the current development focus?
So, as mentioned earlier, affordances are essentially what's possible within a practice. When the affordances are understood, the constraints can then be manipulated to support the learners in searching for and discovering effective movement patterns. In this example, we are shifting the learner's intent to better the development of reaction skills.
So, essentially, this exercise provides an environment that creates a lot of problem-solving opportunities for the goalkeeper. This is essential to allow learners to repeatedly search and explore for effective and adaptive movement solutions.
Other ways to purposely manipulate constraints to increase variability is through increasing the number, type, size, weight or surface of the object in the environment, providing multiple and varying ball feed or player positions, and by providing multiple interactions of the play or game within the same environment.
Previous research has been conducted into the application of a constraints-led approach to pedagogy in schools. One study highlighted the development of the Boeing Project, which is a play-based curriculum for primary school activity, underpinned by the constraints-led approach. This project was used to contribute to the ongoing debate around the importance of physical literacy, by developing a pedagogical approach founded on the theoretical constructs of ecological dynamics.
To break this down, the ecological dynamics framework emphasises the essential relationship between the learner and the environment. Although this project was originally more PE focused, it's also applicable to community coaches and shows how this approach has been successfully applied within similar environments.
Having said this, the coach must be careful not to over-constrain practice by introducing rules or restrictions to explicitly force desired actions. For example, rules such as you must take 5 passes before you score in invasion games. This type of constraint overemphasises the reproduction of an action and misses a key point in invasion games, which is the learner's understanding of a pass to a teammate.
Alternatively, the width of the field could be altered in this instance, either an increased access point in the game such as capture the flag to ensure multiple kings and queens to defend and capture, or the width can be decreased in a small invasion football game to increase errors as there is less space to protect the ball.
During this activity, we suggest that you, as the coach, foster a mastery motivational climate, where you promote activities that centre around effort and learning, while promoting personal competencies and life skills. Scholars support this idea as they suggest that coaches' responsibilities should involve creating a learning environment that promotes skill development, as well as athletes' competencies and whole development as an individual.
According to the key scholar Duda 2001, the motivational climate in sport is the psychological environment and concerns what the coach does, says and how he or she structures the environment in training, competitions and match play.
An individual's sense of ability or competence is a central motive, and this achievement could be construed according to 2 goals of achievement: task orientation and ego orientation. Task orientation often refers to an emphasis on learning and demonstrating ability through improvement, whereas ego orientation often emphasises performance and demonstration of ability compared to others. As a coach, you may influence these motivational climates, which can shape achievement goals through your coaching behaviours and your session designs.
We suggest that you, as coaches, strive to create a task-orientated climate, where you focus on individual athletes' progress, learning and effort, rather than an ego-orientated climate where you ultimately focus on athletes' performance, goals and comparing to other athletes. We believe this is the most holistic approach to adopt when thinking more long-term about the development of the individual and their learning. Experimental research has supported this, and the evidence is substantial for creating this mastery type of climate. For example, target structures have been used to operationalise and guide in creating environments that lead to better motivational or mastery climates. Not every player will respond to specific training conditions in the same way. Therefore, it is important that you understand this to tailor the motivational climate to each individual, to ensure you gain the greatest benefits from your player.
This training practice can also be used when playing a small game-based activity such as a 5v5. This would further increase the amount of elements the keeper needs to focus on, meaning more improvements are made.
Playing small-sided games increases error culture and risks taken, which is very valuable to your players' development, as an environment that produces no errors is deemed both inefficient and unintelligent.
These small-sided games are great for errors to be made. They also allow players to exploit lots of movement and explore their movement patterns to produce more degrees of freedom where the movements are emergent rather than stored. However, due to current circumstances, we could not provide this demonstration due to lockdown restrictions.
These game-based activities can be crucial for the holistic development of the player, as the interactions with opponents and teammates within the environment will have the biggest impact on exploring self-organisation tendencies.
We've also presented another practice underpinned by this constraint-led approach, where we have added bottles as a constraint, which ensures defenders defend correctly and build up good disciplinary habits. What this does is prevents defenders from tugging their players' shirts and encourages them to use body weight and strength instead. To attempt to gain possession of the ball, it also prevents players from picking up fouls for grabbing shirts or fouling players by holding them.
In the modern game of football, it's even more crucial as the game is becoming stricter with the new technology being implemented, such as VAR, Video Assistant Referee. These small game-based practices are great to allow random and variable play, which more errors are being made, but there is greater range of memory cues. This allows the players to adapt the specific environment, as it is never certain what the movement of the opponent will make.
Therefore, this highlights the importance of this exercise within grassroots community level football, as the players are provided with opportunities for the high use of the conceptual system through the need to attune to affordances in the environment. Movements that are self-produced have been researched to create better learning than those externally guided or observed. This suggests that athletes will learn better when finding their own movement patterns and being instructed as demonstrated through this short training activity.
So here is a more traditional example without the implementation of a constraint, which you may see in more coach-led practices. We suggest you steer away from this type of practice. As you can see in this video, when the player gets past the defender, it's clear to see the shirt is being pulled, which in a modern game of football would be a foul.
You should avoid setting problems for learners to solve in environments where other learners are absent. Through manipulating task constraints in this activity, the emphasis is shifted from individual competition onto collaboration. By joining players up as pairs in any game-based activity, emphasises collaboration as well as being a useful method of differentiation.
So, to conclude, for motivational climate, it's beneficial when attempting to improve an individual's coaching skills due to the ability to have a safe space to attempt something and be able to fail and be able to try out new things in training with open communication and long-term development, giving them an individual sense of ability and competence.
In this simplistic attacking drill that we see here, a player or coach plays a pass down the line for the attacker to run onto and finish. It'll either be unopposed or with a defender or a goalkeeper as well. It's quite a low level drill as there's minimal complexity involved and it isn't the most game specific either, so simply by just adding a winger or some extra defenders and attackers, it can be moulded into a game related activity that would further aid the development of your players. As you could see, the previous drill was simple and it wasn't very game based. This drill we're showing now drastically improves the previous one by making the pitch into a diamond shape. This is a task-orientated constraint that can be implemented by coaches to further improve the development of your players. This shaped pitch manufactures an environment whereby the players are forced into making diagonal runs, whether they be forwards or backwards. Making these diagonal runs in football is extremely important as it allows the players to get as far away from the defender as possible, meaning the player has more time to make the correct decision once the ball has been played. The more time that is played in this diamond-shaped pitch, the better, as it's teaching your players to continually make these runs so that when a match is played, although the constraint's gone and the diamond pitch isn't there, the runs are still going to be made, which will improve your players' movement and overall performance. task-orientated constraints where a football pitch is changed in size are not uncommon in the football world. Rondos are used consistently by both amateur and professional sides, and football sessions with small-sided games are a common feature as they force players to pass quick and shoot on sight. This constraint differs from these as the pitch can be used in both competitive and non-competitive settings, whether it be a 2v1 or a 3v2 or an unopposed finishing drill. Using the pitch markings is an environment that's flexible and has multiple benefits for your players. In addition to this, it's not promoting technical skills or team tactics, but instead emphasises on individual movements of players, meaning if you wanted to work on your usual team tactics or your technical drills, whatever it might be, you can do this in the diamond-shaped pitch all the time, meaning multiple aspects of the player's development are being catered for at the same time.
This approach will benefit your players through challenging them tactically, technically, and psychologically. By making your practices game-related, they are more likely to be intrinsically motivated as they are challenged in appropriate environments. Therefore, we have highlighted how a non-linear pedagogical approach is athlete-centered and empowers individuals to become active learners via a more hands-on approach to learning.
So, to wrap up this video, we suggest that you, as coaches, adopt a constraints-led approach to coaching practices, where you choose the appropriate constraints to apply to the situation to challenge the learner to find their own movement solutions. Through not conditioning players, but rather creating a better level of movement solutions by creating mutuality between them and the environment. This will lead to improved emergent outcomes.
We also suggest that you foster a motivational climate which focuses on task orientation, where emphasis is placed on individual players' progress, learning and effort for a more holistic development of the individual. Through the use of target structures, we can guide in creating environments that lead to better motivational and mastery climates. Creating these environments will optimise player motivation and maximise their achievement.
Having a solid understanding of the theoretical ideas underpinning these approaches will help you as a coach use pedagogical methods appropriately, effectively and efficiently to create the most suitable environment for each individual and producing positive outcomes.
We hope you will feel more confident to adopt this approach to coaching and keep the trajectory in mind to satisfy the athlete's needs, to enhance the quality and effectiveness of your community of coaches. Thank you for watching.